Good afternoon and welcome to another set of six, our live show where we share the good, the great and the newsworthy of rugby league outside the heartlands. My name's Craig.
My name's Karl, and on this week's set of six we'll be talking about State of Origin women's with a record crowd. We're talking international rugby, and as always we're going to have some community stories this week, Craig.
Okay, Karl, as always, six interesting news stories from around the world of rugby league, and it's quite an action-packed week for us this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went to the Challenge Cup game down in St Helens between Warrington and Huddersfield, which was great, fantastic atmosphere, really loads of stories going on there, so we'll dig into them. Plus, lots of other stuff been going on. We had the State of Origin women's earlier in the week. There's been international fixtures, and as always, we've got some community games to dig into as well.
Right, okay, so let's dive straight into it. The first story then, the Women's State of Origin, a game that I absolutely loved watching. I love the way that the State of Origin goes about, and the standard of rugby that comes out of that is absolutely incredible. So, Karl, talk to us about it.
Yeah, two big stories came out of the State of Origin, well, possibly even three. And the talking point, which we'll dig into. So, Queensland were expected to win in Brisbane, but New South Wales absolutely rolled them. That first 20 minutes,
they couldn't handle them.
Queensland weren't in the game, and it went all the way to half time. It was a one-way street, I thought.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I support New South Wales. That's my adopted side in the State of Origin, and I was absolutely going nuts. I was like, this is a brilliant start. They started on a different speed than Queensland, and even players like Tamika Upton just didn't even feature in the game until a bit later on. They just kept them quiet, and what is a star-studded side just didn't even stand a chance of getting in there. So loved it.
Yeah, 12-0 up after 10 minutes, and it could have been a lot more, I think. And then this game will always be remembered for one of the great State of Origin tries. Jamie Chapman's try, I think it was the second try that went in, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was just, I couldn't believe how fast she was moving across the ground. And we all know there's players out there, they've got a massive turn of pace, right? But I've never seen anybody with 3 turns of pace.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? She picked up the ball, accelerated through the gap. Then she went round the winger or something like that with a different change of pace. Then she absolutely just bamboozled the fullback and just kicked on again.
She just skipped around the fullback.
Yeah, like a little sprinting gazelle.
Yeah, just a little hip twitch and around her. She went, I was thinking back some of the great Origin tries that we've seen before, and it's
up there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's up there because a lot of the tries in the men's, such a clinical, tight game. You don't see the open field in the men's Origin, but yeah, that's right up there. That is. Yeah,
and I think it was 29 kilometres per hour she got up to, which is just it just boils your brain. It's just hard to. I wish I were turning out 29k an hour on the pitch.
I'll take your word for that.
That's what it was reported as.
So it was 16-0 at half-time, and he eventually finished up 22 points to 12, but in all honesty, Queensland were never really in it. Now, there was one thing that came out of this game, and I didn't actually realise it, so I think it's quite a good talking point for us. 35-minute halves they play in the NRL women's and State of Origin, whereas we're playing the full 40 minutes over here. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, do you know, it's one of these things where I don't know what I think about it. Because, there's a lot going on at the minute about equality and women are just as able to do the things that men do and all this kind of thing. So there's that. And I don't really know how I feel about that. And I don't know, I wouldn't like to speak on behalf of women either for or against. So I'm a bit lost with it. It does seem a bit odd. But what I would love to hear from a woman to tell me their take on it.
So we are recording actually this week with 2 female players, so I think maybe that's
put it to them.
A talking point, and we'll put it to them. Well, I think one thing you would say is that the standard in the NRLW is higher than it is in the UK.
Yeah.
So there may be a point for it in that case.
Yeah, just like shorter, sharper. But I don't know. I mean, it's just you sort of think, well, it's only 5 minutes. Like, what difference is it making?
Yeah,
You know, are you
10 minutes overall, isn't it?
Yeah, 10 minutes overall, and obviously 10 minutes. It's a considerable amount of time, but does it make it faster? Does it did they put more energy into it? I don't know. This is why I'm completely lost.
I suppose
don't have an opinion.
I suppose at this point we say put it in the comments and let us know what your thoughts on that are if anyone's watching.
Yeah, exactly that. Anyway, cracking game. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next match, which is when?
June 6th.
Yeah, June 6th.
I think it's in Newcastle, that one.
Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to watching that. If it's anything like the first game, then it should be an absolute cracker.
Okay, so from State of Origin in Australia to the Southern Conference League. So you got a story there, Karl?
Yeah, so I thought we'd catch up with this one. I put this as one of my big 6 games to keep an eye on this week. West Warriors were playing Bristol this week in a 3rd v 2nd. So it appears that Hammersmith Hills Hoists and the West Warriors are sort of the top 2 teams in the Southern Conference, and I was interested to see what the sort of gap would be between 2nd and 3rd, and whether the other teams were going to be competing for that Southern Conference League title this year. And I was surprised to see the result. It was 64 points to 8 to the West Warriors, so it looks like there's a big gap there.
Yeah, it is, and there's some other teams in there that are kind of struggling at the base of the table, but I mean, Triple H, West Warriors, class.
Yeah.
They're always going to be class side because the way they've been formed, where they recruit the trainers, the players from, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know if it's an off day for Bristol, whether they've not kind of kicked in properly yet or whatever. But it's a big score.
It was at Bristol as well, so I think West's pretty much scored pretty right off the bus. If I read the match report, they took it to them pretty early.
Okay, and you've got a few little summaries there from other games around the SCL, haven't you?
Yeah, so the rest of the results then this week. So Hammersmith Hills Hoist 48, Eastern Rhinos 0, the All Golds 8, West Warriors 64, as we've just said. And then we had the North Hearts Crusaders 38 and Brentwood Eels 8. So if I bring up the table, as you can see, I think this might be 1 week out of date. Actually, I don't think it was updated on the RFL website when I dragged this. But as you can see, Hammersmith and West's currently sitting 1st and 2nd in the table. And then you've got Bristol 3rd, Chargers and North Hearts in 4th and 5th on joint points. And then the bottom half of the table, London Scholars sitting at the bottom of the table, which is unfortunate to say that they were in they're in League One last year, and I think they may have had to cancel a game already as well, so it's not good to see, really. Yeah,
well, there's a big mix of the games played. You know what I mean? You can see that it's like almost half the games have played. At the bottom of the table.
Yeah,
so
and there
were
only 3 fixtures this weekend as well, so I'd like to dive into that a little bit more and get a bit of an understanding why, really.
Okay, so moving on from the Southern Conference League, and it's Challenge Cup semi-final week. So, like I said, we went to one of the games, had a belting day at the Totally Wicked Stadium. It was great weather, wasn't it? I remember why we love summer rugby, because it was an absolute belting day and we had one hell of a pie. So, more on that in a minute.
Breaking news. I think we'll touch on the women's game then, shall we, to start with. So the first game was Saints versus York Valkyrie. Now, I was surprised by the result of this one. I know that York had quite a few players. There were a sickness bug that had run through the camp before the game, but there were, a couple of influential characters weren't in the York team. I think Sinead Peach is pregnant.
That's one hell of a bug.
Tara Jane Stanley wasn't playing. Big character for York, but it's interesting that you take those couple of players out of that York team.
Yeah.
And they were quite a way off St Helens, I thought.
Yeah, they were. They were we went to the grand final last year, and York were on fire. They were brilliant.
Yeah.
Really, really clinical, really good, hard fought. But Tara Jane Stanley bossed a lot of it. She gained so much ground. She was almost unplayable at times, and they definitely missed her. And they seemed to kind of get their heads down. They dropped their heads quite early on in the game. And then whenever that happens, you're going to struggle to get momentum and get a foothold, really. So comprehensive win for Saints on that one.
Yeah, they weren't great the week before either against Leeds, I thought. So yeah, it's interesting, but we'll see where the table ends up. The other game, which was on the same week, the same match that we went to see, was Leeds versus Wigan. Fairly close for a while, that one, but Leeds always looked a level above Wigan, I thought.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, I think they kind of struggled first half. I don't think they quite kind of found the groove, and that was backed up by the press conference at the end, where Lois Forsell was sort of saying, you know, to remind them that, you know, stick to your processes, and you know, and no team can deal with you this year, and give them a little kick up the arse. Second half was hard fought, but they always seemed to be in control, and again, comprehensive win for Leeds there. Yeah,
I thought it was interesting when we spoke to Dennis Betts after the game as well. He kind of alluded to that Wigan should have higher standards, and they're not quite at that level of St Helens and Leeds, and they need to get into that mentality that this is a Wigan Warriors side, and you know, we should be up there challenging.
Well, a lot like people, I suppose, like teams have an identity. They have, you know, what they believe is their identity, and what Dennis Betts was kind of saying, or what I took from it, was that their identity is, well, you know, they're perhaps 4th, 5th in the table kind of team, and they're not quite pushing there for silverware. However, he wants to change that. The team want to change that identity, and they want to cement themselves in the top 4 of the Women's Super League. So very aspirational, and I think we need it. You know, we've seen some big scores recently. You know, there's a divide between the bottom teams in the league and the very, very top teams. So, you know, we need teams to be chasing.
I mean, Wigan certainly are up there with the top teams. I mean, they put 100 points nearly on. It was 100 points, I think, on Huddersfield the week before. But it doesn't feel like they're Leeds St Helens level yet, not yet. But we'll show the clip from this weekend's press conference.
Challenge Cup finalists and BBC Sport. You'll continue to watch these at rugby-league.com/tickets.
The girls need to understand that when they keep the ball and complete and they do the things on their turn, I don't personally believe any team will deal with us this year. But because we weren't doing that and tried to play as individuals at times, I think, you know, that was our sort of downfall. But, you know, certainly questioned how much we wanted it, because I thought that Wigan, you know, really dug in that first half, and we had to find a response where we give it even more than them, and we were sort of in control and did things on our terms. And when they did that, I think we could see how much easier it was to manage the game. The big thing for us is about fulfilling our potential, so I think we'll be definitely looking at us as a group.
Leeds have been look like the best side in the competition so far, with a bit of consistency. You can see that they've got high quality players. Well, it's got to hurt, because that's the expectations have changed. It's not just doing enough anymore, it's about changing the aspirations within the group, but the expectations of where we feel like we can finish. And I think that's the mindset shift we've had, that not being comfortable in a certain place, but being uncomfortable and wanting to get better.
Okay, loved hearing, you know, from Lois Forsell and Dennis Betts. Dennis Betts, massive hero when I was growing up. For him to be sat there, you know, and just listening to him was really, you know, it was a privilege, really. And he's in great shape as well, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
freaking, you know, the muscles in his arms. He's still like, you know, there's me, get aging. I'm about 10 years younger than him. You know what I mean? Same with Jamie Peacock. I mean, I think I'm older than Jamie Peacock, but, you know, great shape, them lads.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think clearly, he's in the gym every week, clearly.
Well, every day.
Yeah. So, should we get on to the men's game?
Nah, it's not bother.
Nah, all right, skip over it. Right, so OKR Wigan was a surprising result, I thought. I always expected Wigan to come out on top in this game, but I didn't expect the margin to be as big as it was.
I completely agree. We both called it, you know, and I think I said Wigan by 10, and I think you said Wigan by 6 or something like that. Yeah. And we were both kind of way off the mark, although we predicted the right team would win. Same as York when they were in the women's game. Like, like very soon got the heads down. You know, it seemed like they were just getting like pushed around and bullied and couldn't cope with the pace or the skill that Wigan was bringing. And they were doing stupid stuff. Peter Hickey like dropped the shoulder onto Jai Field, you know, and they were just silly things like that where obvious frustration was coming out on the pitch.
I think he's landed himself a ban for that as well this week.
Oh, so he should. He's talking about direct contact with the head and no mitigating circumstance. I mean, the guy was flat packed on the floor. You know, Peter Hickey more or less did off the top turnbuckle and bloody smashed him into the ground. So, yeah, no, it
seems to be a different kettle of fish, doesn't it, when you play Wigan? The defence is so good. They strangle all teams, don't they? And Hull KR just didn't have that free-flowing game about them.
Yeah.
Go on you. I know it's got wrong camera on then, that were all.
Right, just pause. Yeah, it wasn't really a game that I kind of got into too much because it was so one-sided. Anyway, fair play. Wigan off to the final. They're going to be a hell of an opponent for Warrington.
Good viewing figures on BBC were reported though on the Saturday game, so that is positive. However, the crowd, it wasn't bad, but it was only at Doncaster. So I think we're going to get onto that.
So you've last year you slagged off Wakey and Featherstone. Now you turn your attention to Doncaster, are you?
No, it was at Doncaster.
Yeah, no, but you said only at Doncaster.
Well, no, yeah, no, bloody hell. You're throwing me under the bus here.
Exactly. Well, I always do.
Doncaster's a good ground.
Right, okay.
But it's not huge.
No, it's not. 15,000 capacity.
Tops. I think we should be expecting bigger crowds. But we'll get into that on Williams Weekly on Tackle 6, I believe.
Yeah, so just to kind of tee that up, stay with us because we're going to talk about the idea of neutral grounds for these Challenge Cup fixtures and whether it aids or, you know, take stuff away from that. So we're going to be talking about that. On to the next game then, Karl. Huddersfield versus Warrington.
Yeah, so we finished off Huddersfield 10, Wire 46. Again, another big gap between these two sides, and it felt like from the minute I turned up at that stadium, it were always going to be Warrington's day.
Yeah, I remember, you know, when the crowds were forming, and there was clearly 3 or 4 times more Warrington fans than Huddersfield, maybe even more than 20 times more. And you turned to me, I was halfway through eating my pie, and you was like, I can't see anything else other than a Warrington win here, because it just felt that way, you know. So, and I wonder if the Huddersfield fans felt that as well.
I think I'd agree with that, because I know Huddersfield don't have as big a following as Warrington. That's fair to say, but they didn't travel in numbers, and like I said to you before, it feels like something building at Warrington at the minute. And I know they're the butt of all jokes every year. That it's always their year and all the rest of it. But I've said to you, I feel like Sam Burgess is writing his own story. And when I was at that game at the weekend, it very much felt like he's creating something is happening at Warrington.
Well, I mean, he's got a massive presence. You know, he walked on the pitch, the crowd were going mental. They really back him. They really believe in him. And then afterwards, when the game's, you know, finished, everything, you know, his nice characteristics that just oozed out on the pitch. You know, he's walking around with, I hope it's his daughter, but, you know, he's carrying this little kid around with him, and he was hugging all the players, and all the players were like diving into his arms and all this kind of thing. And they really do believe in him. And interesting, you'll see the clip in a minute, but he said, you know, the final's not about him. This whole thing's not about him anymore. My take on that is, unfortunately,
it is.
It is.
Yeah, it
because,
is, yeah.
You know, you demand so much respect and presence, and people do want you to win at the minute. But there's also a lot of people waiting for you to fail to see, you know, how you get on. The good news is he's got him to a final, so he's already, you know, on the upward trend. Yeah,
talking about the actual game then itself, Warrington very, very much in control from the first couple of minutes, weren't they?
Yeah.
They attacked that left edge of Huddersfield's right edge with ease. George Williams could have played in a dinner suit. Ashton just had all the room in the world. They just ripped him to pieces, and Huddersfield just couldn't deal with him, I didn't think.
Yeah, Matt Duffy just cut him in half as well. You know, it was like a bloody tin opener just slicing through. And you look at him and like compare him to some of the other players, and he's quite small, like compared to a lot of the other players, if not the smallest player on the pitch. Like, yeah, he just bust tackle and evade tackles and scores tries. You know what I mean? You sort of think, how have they allowed him to get through there? But he's clearly just a very, very talented player and playing at speed, hitting gaps and getting put through gaps, which was your comment, and it's hard to deal with.
The Huddersfield did have their moments, didn't they, where it looked like they were about to get a foothold in the game, and every time they did, they just came up with a silly error, and they didn't build any pressure.
Well, halfway through the first half, I was thinking, right, they need to kind of start to gain some momentum here. And they started building a bit of pressure. You know, I think there were like a couple of mistakes from Warrington. And I thought, oh, maybe they're going to kick on. This is going to be a close game. But like you said, then wheels fell off a little bit and they didn't really capitalise.
Yeah, and then the wheels properly fell off in the second half, and the grubness came out, didn't it?
It did, and I've got to say, you know, obviously you're talking about Jake Connor, and eventually he got shown a yellow card 10 minutes in the sin bin, but you know the events before that, and there's been, you know, a bit on the old internet about, you know, the events before that. Obviously, you know, this Warrington player did this crazy careering dive over one of the advertising boards, and you know, Jake Connor was made out as the pantomime villain that had knocked him over the board. And you look at the replay, and there's not a lot of contact.
No,
you know,
he gave him a little brush. Didn't he?
And unfortunately, this is what Jake Connor's, you know, created for himself. People, you know, they kind of hate him.
It's his persona, isn't it?
Yeah, and he gets into players' heads, and he comes out with some incredible skill. I mean, some of the passes that he did, you know, that day, just phenomenal, and you know. Really hard to read because he just seems to be able to fire out these passes with barely any indication that he's going to pass. He doesn't line anything up. It's just like bang.
Yeah, he played someone through on the right-hand side and he literally threaded the ball through the eye of a needle. I remember seeing it thinking that is top-level skill. But yeah, he's got this side to his game that...
It's definitely taken away from his game now.
And
that of the Giants in general, you know, because... they're already down on the scoreboard. They're already getting beaten up. And, you know, to then lose an influential player for 10 minutes just before the end of the game, you're onto a bit of a shitter.
Yeah, so. I remember we were sat in the stands at one point and Huddersfield were behind the sticks after they'd just conceded like the third try or probably fourth or fifth try, wasn't it, at that point? And the Wire fans were giving them some right stick.
Well, there was a chanting, something like, "Your shit" or something.
And yeah, one of the...
"Your shit, nah. Your shit." Yeah. And it was going on and on. It was really loud.
And you said to me, you went...
Well, you don't really...
But you don't really hear that when you're on pitch playing. I was like, mate, they are playing. They're stood behind the post after they've just scored.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, that frustration is going to come out. And then literally 2 minutes later...
There were water balls getting thrown. And
there were a melee on the floor and all sorts, weren't there? Yeah, it's another talking point, I suppose. The crowd all throwing beer cups and as the players started fighting. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is I think whenever you've got a group of passionate people, you end up with like a mob mentality. I think you're going to struggle to ever eradicate it. You know what I mean? The interesting thing is if you go to a music festival, that's called a fucking encore. You know what I mean? With people throwing bottles of piss and cups of piss. Innit? You know, we've all been to festivals, we've all been there getting peppered by drinks bottles and all that, and no one bats an eyelid because it's a music festival and everyone's in the freaking mosh pit or whatever. On a pitch, obviously, it's different, and we don't like it. Everybody stands up and in recognition of the together thing, the rugby league like respect type thing, and we just don't want to see it. And I think that there's a bit of we had the woman at St Helens that threw the bottle and she got banned. Now we've got this weekend. Like I said, it's going to be hard to completely eradicate. It is the minority. You know, it really is the minority. But one thing that I love to see, and I don't know if you've seen this on the internet, but Sam Powell. Did you see Sam Powell?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, he was basically going up to the crowd, wasn't he? And he was giving them a bollocking, wasn't he?
He was furious.
Yeah.
He was really, and I think this is what we need to do. We need to get influential players calling out bad behaviour, you know, to put a stop to it. The other thing as well is, just take it back slightly, when Sam Powell played for Wigan, I had him down as a typical Wigan shithouse, right? Because they are.
What are you saying about Wigan, lads?
I fucking tell you, and people that don't support Wigan know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, he was always snidey, he's a sledger and all that. And to see him do that on the day, he went up in my estimations.
Yeah,
Is that the phrase? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really, I respect him so much for that, because he could have been in the melee, bloody getting dragged on the floor by Tui Lolea like everyone else was, and he wasn't. You know, he was calling out bad behaviour. That's what we need to see more of.
Yeah, I think that. Well, we've got some we've got some videos to show, haven't we? The Challenge Cup.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
And then they completed, I think, 18 out of 19, I think, in the first half, which just tells you you're doing a hell of a lot of kind of defending, and you can't really put the pressure back on them. And every time we seem to get a set, we made a bit of an error, or we give an ill discipline away coming out of yardage. So yeah, we're hurting on the back of that, mate. At half time we spoke about that. We thought we could, if we did the right things, we thought we could get back in the game, but then the George try just totally killed that.
Today was another step forward as a club. I thought, we handled the big occasion well. We were very calm all week. Our preparation has been very consistent. The players are buying into what we're doing. So, from my point of view, I wasn't surprised at the first half. I thought there's areas where it could have been better, but I was pleased that they took the opportunities that they created.
For me personally, is the defence. We're not getting broken down too much. I think they scored two, and one of them was our wrongdoing. I think Power dropped it, so we're a team that's hard to break down, and we've got too many good players to not post points if we defend well.
Your 50-metre try.
Yeah, very tired after that.
Hang on, he told me it was 70 metres. He said it was 70 in the change.
A nice pass though, wasn't it?
Yeah, Danny played really well. I think our span was pretty good today, just really connected, and I just feel a good team. They throw some good shapes at the end. Yeah, we was pretty clinical, I think is the word today, clinical.
We built our growth as a team and based around some effort stuff, and we won a couple of those moments tonight. I think Duff's, you've got to give Duff, you see him do some brilliant things, but he's working so hard off the ball. The cameras don't pick it up, but the players certainly respect what he's doing at the back, and he's making more of those tackles than he misses now. And that, to me, they're more important than scoring them, is saving them. Like I say, I'm not surprised with the result, but there's some great sides out there. You got to be, as George touched on, we were in the final, which is good, but that's just not good enough. We'll be chasing it down, so and we're going to win in everything out. So I guess it's up to us to take it off them.
First 20 minutes you seem to attack Huddersfield's right edge, your left. Was that something you'd worked on pre-game, or was it just you guys playing with your eyes open on the day?
No, we have Martin Gleeson, who's a great attack coach. And these guys trying to play what we see. I think we're a good team now. We can pick either side, but I think our left side's been really good the last couple of weeks. So that worked for us today. Doesn't matter who it is. Obviously, it's Wigan, are a great team and where I'm from, but just another team that will be up.
Fair play. Right, so from that, obviously the next story being a bit of wheelchair rugby now.
Yeah, the Wheelchair Cup final, Challenge Cup final, has been confirmed with Wigan Warriors defeating James Simpson's Leeds Rhinos 48 points to 30 this coming weekend.
Yeah, we love a bit of wheelchair rugby, and if you know what's good for you, you should go and have a look at that as well at some point, because it's an incredible game to watch. And
Catalan also defeated the London Roosters, big score on that one, which sets up a Challenge Cup final, which is a repeat of the European Cup final that we saw earlier on in the season.
Yeah, and that was a good game, wasn't it? So this is going to be a belter.
Do you know why I find this one interesting this time? I think because it was Catalan that came over before, they were well into their sort of season, or they'd already played quite a few competitive games over in France.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd really had much of a break like we'd had over here. Whereas I think Wigan went into that cold, but now
the battle ready.
Yeah, the battle ready. It's middle of the season.
The battle ready, match fit. They're on a bit of a ride. So yeah, it's going to be a great game. When is it?
1st of June. It's also on BBC Sport as well. I'm hoping to get down to that one.
Yeah, so it's going to be in Sheffield, the Institute of Sport in Sheffield, 14:30 on the BBC, 1st of June.
That's not the only wheelchair news though.
Okay.
So coming up this weekend, Sunday the 26th of May, is the Future of England game. So I don't know what the teams are yet for this. It hasn't been announced. I think it's due to be announced later today, but I believe they're playing all the sort of future England stars, so possibly current England team with a lot of the players who were in and around that, possibly in the squad, who never sort of really made it. So you're going to get to see the best of the England team go up against each other in a sort of red versus blue game. That's what they call them these days, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think the wheelchair rugby league seem to do this really well. But maybe it's because their pitch is defined. It's got to be in an indoor arena and all that kind of thing. And they just tend to do a few more festival type double headers, triple headers, things like this. You know what I mean? And fours matches, don't they? And that kind of thing. So fair play, And I think it's everything they kind of turn out is the quality of the poster and everything is just really good, really exciting. So,
and the RFL are fully behind wheelchair rugby league, and why shouldn't they be? It's one of the fastest growing sports in the UK at the minute. Like you said, there's more than just that game going on. So there's a youth festival taking place in the morning, and then there's York versus Bradford Bulls in the championship fixture before they get onto the big event, the England game after that. So yeah. Great to see, and I'm interested to see who makes that England wheelchair team now, because they're household names, these guys now.
Yeah.
But people know the players that are coming up as well, especially in that Wigan team. There's not been a lot of representation of Wigan in the England squad, but yet clearly they're one of the big teams now.
Yeah, and some of those established England players have been around a while.
Yes,
they've got a couple of World Cups under the belt, and I don't want to say they're aging and they perhaps should be put out to pasture and all that, but we need to be bringing talent through. There's got to be a route for talent to come through, and as the game grows, it's going to happen. We're going to bring players through. So
yeah,
it's a good opportunity.
I think that this game, like I say, it's a great opportunity for anybody who's trying to make a claim for an England shirt this year. So I think it'll be uber competitive, that.
Yeah, okay. So from there, talking about England international wheelchair, which is a really good, but also now on to Ireland versus the Netherlands.
Yeah, seamless link there. Craig absolutely nailed that one. Ireland defeated the Netherlands in a World Cup qualifier this week in the women's match. It took place in Dublin. I think it was 16 points to 12 it finished.
Yeah.
Absolutely cracking game. I've watched the highlights. Some international players, some Australian women's NRL players in the Netherlands side. Yeah, they could have taken the game. They were in front at half time.
Yeah, they were. And what I liked about the game was that there was some great skill, some great shapes being thrown. There's been some good lines being run. It was very aggressive at times. I think at one point the bloody referee ran into a player. It was really, really good to watch. And I found it quite striking because of the green of the Ireland team. And the orange of the Netherlands team.
Yeah.
Very, very striking to watch, and it was great weather as well. And a great crowd in Dublin as well.
It seemed to be.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers are.
No, I don't know what the numbers were, but from the video footage I've seen, it was noisy. And the other thing with this is what's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's out of Ireland's hands now whether they qualify for the World Cup, because the Netherlands have got to take on Wales. Wales are top of the group.
Yeah.
Ireland are second. Netherlands are third, but Netherlands and Wales are still to play each other. And if Netherlands get a good result against Wales, which they could well do, because there's clearly not a lot in these teams, it could push Ireland out of the qualifying post.
Yeah, I read in the press release that Matt Kennison, the Dublin head coach there, the Ireland head coach, was sort of saying he's going to do everything possible to help the Welsh team. And I thought, that's interesting. You don't often read that. Some stars in the team, obviously Storm Cobain had an absolute belting match, scoring a couple of tries and kicking a conversion.
Storm Cobain, the Lee Leopards player with the best name in rugby league. She scored on the 43rd minute right after half time, so they were down 8-6 at half time. She scored pretty much a couple of minutes into the second half, and then got a late try in the 73rd minute, and also kicked a couple of goals. So yeah, she had a cracking game.
Related to Kurt Cobain, of Nirvana fame. I'm starting that rumour here. So
It's not the first time we've started a rumour on this show, is it?
No, you're right. Yeah, we nearly got Jared Sarrett to fucking Cornwall or somewhere, didn't we?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it was the Midlands, wasn't it? It was Midlands. Oops, probably shouldn't have. Anyway, okay, yeah, belting game. We have got some clips, some highlights from that game. Thank you to Steve Hogan of YouTube, who streamed the game. So I'm going to put the full link for the whole game. Go and watch it. It's a real good watch. And so thanks to him for sharing it. Here's the clip now.
Council here, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ireland and Midlands.
Okay, so tackle 6 then. So this is the Williams Weekly where we have a discussion point. Obviously, we've already broached the subject already in regards to neutral venues for Challenge Cup games. Now, my immediate take on this is obviously some stadiums are more neutral than others for some teams.
Yeah.
You know, we saw a massive difference in the size of the Warrington crowd compared to the Huddersfield crowd. Now, all right, they're not exactly on each other's doorstep, but it's certainly easier for the Warrington supporters to get to the Totally Wicked Stadium than it was for Huddersfield, and therefore did it hamper them? So that's what I kind of want to talk about this week, Karl.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Challenge Cup and semi-finals and just crowd levels overall. So yeah, it's interesting that you've brought that up, that the fixture was a lot closer to Warrington than it was to Huddersfield. However, my opinion on this is I don't think Huddersfield would have brought many more fans, even if that game had been played
at Huddersfield.
In Huddersfield, yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Now, maybe different if it was at home at Huddersfield, but even if it was in, say, Halifax or Bradford or, somewhere like that.
No, I just... I don't think you've got a point on that one. I just think that...
well, let me rephrase it.
Go on.
So, all right, so maybe the crowd doesn't matter too much.
Forget this weekend's fixtures.
Yeah, forget this week's fixtures.
Yeah.
Is it good for the game? Now, I know one of the reasons it'll be done like that is because obviously they don't know which teams are going to be in the semis, the quarters, obviously the finals taken care of. But and therefore they need neutral grounds, and then it boils down to scheduling those stadiums and when stadiums are available. But is there a case to restructure the way that the competition is run so that in the quarters you're playing for that semi-final home advantage by points scored? First, I don't know how you would do it, but could we make the competition more exciting by using home advantage as a lure?
Ooh, that's a controversial opinion because I think the Challenge Cup semi-final should always be at a neutral venue.
Yeah.
The one thing I am interested to know is I wonder how early these venues are actually decided. So I don't think it's that close. I don't think it's picked that far away. I certainly don't think they pick it 12 months in advance.
Yeah.
Because if they did, there should be advertising tickets for semi-finals, shouldn't there? The venue choices almost only came out.
It's just
after the teams had got into the semi-final. So that's interesting. So if they are being picked that late, then there is a case to be answered for that it should be at a more neutral area.
Maybe even a more inspiring area. Do you know what I mean? So for example, like when they had the Magic Weekend in Newcastle, I went to watch the Magic Weekend because Newcastle's a belting night on the piss as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Is there more inspiring locations? I don't know. It's just I just think I'd like to hear other people's point of view. Is what I'm saying.
Stick it in the comments below.
That's it.
Do you know what are your thoughts on it being at football grounds? Because clearly we're not getting 30-odd thousand at semi-finals anymore.
That's twice now you've mentioned the F word on this podcast.
Oh, bloody hell.
Right, you're going to get yourself a yellow card here if you carry on. No, I get what you're saying. Sometimes football grounds can feel empty because, a lot of them are considerably bigger than the Rugby League grounds. It's the same again, if it's an inspiring location or perhaps even an inspiring stadium to go to, then maybe it'll work. I don't know. I just think there's... We're talking about the Challenge Cup perhaps losing some of its edge. You know what I mean? So can we use other things to increase the amount of people that are turning up to watch?
It is sad to see, really, because I love the Challenge Cup. But yeah, I mean, we can't deny it, can we? It has lost a little bit of its magic. The magic of the Cup has gone. And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that the gap between full-time and part-time teams is so wide these days. I mean, there's a huge difference just between Super League and Championship. So I think that has quite a bit of a part to play in it. But
I'll tell you something else has a massive part to play.
What?
BBC's coverage of it. I think it's terrible. I do. I just think it's really terrible.
Are you trying to get out paying your TV licence? Is that there seems to be a recurring theme coming here every week?
What?
You not liking BBC?
Well, I think it's bad. Tell me what you think in the comments and that. You know what I mean? I think the commentators are a little bit out of touch now.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I didn't like to see is that the women's game was on iPlayer, and oh my God, you had to search for it to find it. I was looking for it, so what would you type in if you was trying to find the Challenge Cup on BBC iPlayer?
Challenge Cup?
Right, yeah. That didn't come up for Challenge Cup.
Right, okay.
I typed in Rugby League. It didn't come up.
No.
Eventually, I just found it on a different sort of section where there was like live sport on. But people aren't going to find it unless they know where to look for it. And I didn't like the fact that there was no coverage at half-time. It was terrible. It just cut off.
No, but this is all the things that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? It's like, fundamentally, you're watching sport at home because it's an entertainment, right? You get lost in, following your team or watching a sport that you love and it's entertainment, right? But sometimes it's like, I don't know. It's like eating like dry bread in a fucking sauna. It's just such a struggle to find the game and then to find some enjoyment in it because it's just bad. It's just bad.
We're sounding negative. We try and steer away from that. But if you're making all that effort to go there with the production trucks and to get the cameras out and have the commentators. Why cut off at half time? What's it going to take you just to do a bit of half time analysis?
Yeah,
it's not going to cost them anything, is it?
Well, I don't know what the implications are, but it kind of makes sense. So anyway, that's that. We got from neutral grounds to Challenge Cup.
We got no answer from any of that.
No. No, but what we have got is the opportunity to hear other people's point of view, and that's what I'm interested in.
Hang on, I've got one more point just to bring up when we're talking about Challenge Cup. Double headers. We did that a couple of years ago. What are your thoughts on that?
I like the idea of double headers in one respect, that you're going to have a better crowd. But then I don't like in the other respect that, I dare say there's some kind of problems with revenue share and that. I don't know if clubs are going to be keen on it because, if you've got a club that rents a stadium and then a club that owns their stadium, well, you know what I mean? And then that team that owns the stadium are going to get majority of the money from their ticket sales and all that. And then they're going to perhaps go to a neutral venue and get a revenue share. Could they lose money?
Yeah.
Could the other team gain money? I don't know because I don't know the financials. And then in terms of like support, well, geographically it's going to favour one team more than the other, unless it's Saints and Wigan, in which case,
Yeah.
They live next door to each other, don't they?
I've got the answer.
Right, here we go. See, we do have an answer there.
Yeah, so we have got an answer. Right, I think the RFL should own a rugby stadium. Have they got one of them?
Well, the operator are Manchester City.
No,
can we not have that?
they've got the lease for Odsal, right? So they can Odsal, do it up.
Yeah. Fucking hell. How much money are you putting into this?
Wembley of the North in Bradford. It's central to all M62 clubs.
Right.
Cracked it.
No.
And then all money goes back into RFL.
See, Carl, I said an inspiring location, mate. An inspiring location. You got fucking Richard Dunn next door falling down. He's condemned. You know what I mean? This fucking pit.
We might better get rid of Speedway track.
That's not going anywhere. That's been there, 40, 50 years? How long's it been there, that Speedway track?
Well, it's new, actually.
No, that one's new, but I remember going to watch monster trucks fly around the bloody pitch, around the Speedway track when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's been there a long time.
Yeah. So anyway,
not the answer then. Not the answer. No.
There might be something in it, but put it out again. Who's going to travel to Bradford? So, okay, maybe Derek Beaumont can sort this out. It sounds like we need a bit of Lee Leopard's magic sprinkled on the Challenge Cup. That'll sort it out. Right, okay, so moving on then. The final thing then. So this week's Big Six games. So Carl, every week you pick out 6 games to watch out for. The Big Six, we call it. Who have you chose this week?
Right, so I've got a mixture of Championship, NRL, Super League and Women's Super League this week. No community games in it this week, though. Right, so first game, Toulouse versus Widnes. The reason I've picked this out, I'm surprised where Toulouse are in the table at the minute.
Yeah.
Tipped by a lot of people to get maximum points on IMG and to be promoted into Super League next year. But they're currently sitting 6th in the Championship. They're not, and on the other hand of that, you've got the taking against Widnes, who are currently sitting 2nd in the table, who people, I don't think, expected them to do very well, especially with all the turmoil that was going on in pre-season. So it's 6th versus 2nd, so I think that's a really interesting game to keep an eye on. What are your thoughts on Toulouse, sitting at 6th?
Well, London was pretty much the same place when they came up and then got promoted last year, and they've struggled in Super League. I think if you're in 6th, in the Championship, you ain't really going to compete very well in Super League, in my opinion. All right, they might have a bit of an advantage because they're kind of pre-warned that they're going to be moving up to Super League. Therefore, they can recruit better than London did. I think London really was up against it, recruiting players for this Super League season. So, but it's not where I expect them to be. And it doesn't seem right that a team that is sort of mid-table, obviously there's a long... there's half the season to go, to be we're talking about them getting promoted already because, you know, we like to do stuff on merit, and this doesn't seem like merit in a weird way. Obviously, they've done the hard work in obtaining those IMG points and creating a great club that's you know got solid foundations, but they're not performing on the pitch in the manner in which I would expect a club that was looking at promotion, in my opinion.
No, very well put. Next game then, St Helens versus Leeds. Actually taking place twice, this fixture is this weekend. So the men are playing on Friday night against Leeds Rhinos at St Helens.
Yeah.
And then the women are also playing on Saturday, and that'll be a preview of the Challenge Cup women's final.
Yeah, and by the way, if you haven't watched our prediction video yet, then check that out. Watch me get an absolute arse kicking by Karl every week. It's live on the YouTube channel. So what I'm saying about this, I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I'm a Leeds fan, staunch Leeds fan. I think they're going to get their asses kicked, but definitely interesting game to watch out for, especially because it's men and women, you know, playing. So
I mean, Leeds are sitting outside that top. I think are they sat 6 in the table, 6 or 7th, aren't they at the minute? They're not a million miles away from the top 5.
In points,
but in performance.
But
performance, they're not there, are they? They don't think Rowan Smith's getting the best out of that team at the minute.
No, and I've spoke a lot in this episode about inspiring, and I don't feel it's an inspiring team right now. I used to look at the Leeds team and felt blessed with the stars that were just, you know, that were on the team sheet. They're absolute, just amazing stars. And what we've kind of developed is the ability to take great stars from other teams and just turn into bang average players. And you know, it's a bit unfortunate, really. So I kind of struggling with it. I'll never ever turn me back on Leeds, but it's a horrible place to be. And I tell you as well, you mentioned the F word again. You know, we had this for years with the football. You know, Leeds United football, it just, you know, just dropped down into the depths of, you know, and it's taken them a long time to get back. And so, you know, it's just weird. As a one club city, I just think we need to be doing better. Like, we should be able to recruit better players, and maybe it's something to do with the man at the top.
Right. Well, as a Bradford fan, I think it's fucking brilliant.
I bet you do. That's getting clipped.
Long may their demise continue. Right. Next game then, Castleford versus Hull FC.
Yeah.
Hull FC have been in the news all year because they're terrible. They were no better last week. Lost to London. Castleford, mixed fortune. Castleford are getting better. I think they've won 1, drawn 1, lost 1 of the last 3. I'm expecting a Castleford win on that one. Don't know what your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Castleford win. I think Hull have a chance of turning the corner a little bit. I don't think they're ever going to get away from the bottom of the table, obviously, but I'm just not sure it's now or for the next couple of weeks. So, you know, they need some big news stories to come into that club to inspire them again, that word again. And but I don't think it's happening this week, so Castleford win for me.
Right, we'll move on to the NRL then. 2 big games in the NRL. Saturday morning, if you watch your NRL, you've got the first game, Canberra in 6th position versus the Roosters in 7th. That kicks off at 6 o'clock. And then if you don't get up that early, there's an absolute belter at 8:30. Cronulla Sharks sit at the top of the NRL ladder this year. Really great team. They're in front of Penrith. Penrith currently sat at 3rd, current champions. Should be a belter, that one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, agreed. 2 great teams, two great games there you picked out.
And then the final game of the weekend is at Sunday. Is at 3 o'clock. This is a very interesting game, this one is. Keighley Cougars, who got relegated last year, but they're doing really well, against Oldham Ruffieds. I never know if I pronounced that right. Yeah, Oldham currently sat at the top of the table. Sean Long's men tipped to win the league this year. That's their big test this week.
Yeah, 100% big test. They're going really, really well. So yeah, it's going to be a great game. I can see why you picked that one out. I'm interested though. This week's Big 6 is actually 7 games.
Yeah, but I disguised one because it was Saints and Leeds.
So you want to squeeze an extra one in?
Yeah.
Saints and Leeds.
Yeah,
pretending it's the same game. But. Clearly not. Different days for a start.
Yeah, I've been rumbled there.
But that Saints Leeds game, by the way, did you mention it's obviously a preview to the Challenge Cup final?
Yeah, preview to the Challenge Cup final. That's why it's so interesting, and it's one of them, isn't it? Do you throw everything at it?
Yeah.
Or do you hold something back
in pursuit of 2 points for the league, or do you hold something back in pursuit of silverware?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's an interesting one. So, yep, great games that you've picked out there, Cal. Okay, so thank you for watching in. And if you haven't seen our prediction round video yet, then go and check that out. And as well as that, we've got a podcast episode landing this Thursday with Simon Groves of Try Tag Rugby. He plays for the Coventry and Warwickshire side. And it was really good to listen and learn more about Try Tag Rugby. If you're someone who's perhaps plagued with injuries, aging player or something like that, but you still want to keep your hand in the game, then go and have a look at it. It is different to touch rugby. Big festivals all around the country, from Brighton to London to Wales to up in Scotland, you know, so it's a real social thing as well. And what Simon talked about, it was far more than just a game. You know, it's almost a Swiss Army knife of rugby league, where it's somewhere for people to find their tribe, to move, get outdoors. And we know how good that is for mental health. You know, just a ton of different stuff. So check it out. That'll land on Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning. So look out for that episode. Cal, have you got any final last words for us?
Yeah, we're going to finish with a trivia question.
All right, this is new. This has shook my world. This
new feature. I've just decided I'm going to do it.
Oh fucking hell! Does that mean you're going to turn it into like two features?
No. Right, throw it in the comments. What was the name of St Helens's ground, which they started playing in 1890, right up until 2008? Comment below.
That's easy, isn't it? That's an easy question.
Not everybody will know that.
No? All right, okay. Yep, so there you go. And until next episode, take care.